Well, welcome back to those of you who are following in these eco-spirit lectures, or whatever you want to call them. I want to start today by looking back in my life about 40 years ago. And I was involved with an Indigenous community in Ontario for about 5 years. And an elder took me aside once and asked me if I would be consenting to become her grandson. And I, kind of wondered, okay, what are you talking about? I didn't fully understand about being adopted through a ceremony. And I said, well, yes. And I was prayed over, I was smudged, I was given an eagle feather, and I was given a name, which I tend to keep to myself. I'm saying this today because I want to deal with an Indigenous way of understanding environment, ecology, and in a sense, life. In 2009, the Conservation Council of New Brunswick brought together elders from Mi'kmaq, Maliseet, and a few others. And they were asking questions about, in a traditional sense, how do you see things? And this is 2009. The thing that Western Europeans don't understand is that traditional ecological knowledge is knowledge that's attained through an interaction, through an experience between humans and their environment. But over millennia. And it is through the elders that the wisdom of how to survive, what to eat, what not to eat, how to trap, how to survive again, is passed down. That's what traditional knowledge is. That does not say that it's somehow frozen in the past. As things change, the knowledge has to change in order to survive. And traditional ecological knowledge is, therefore, inherently adaptive and constantly evolving as it comes to human adaptation to its surroundings. Now, we don't live in nature anymore. We don't live here in the woods or anything like that. We're not interacting. We visit and we go. They didn't. If I want food, I go to the superstore. Medication, I go to the pharmacy. Gas in the car, I go to the gas station. It's as simple as that. You turn on the light. The way they saw it, the way it had to be, was an intimate sense of respect. If you don't respect what keeps you alive, you're going to die. And diversity in and of itself is a vital component to the knowledge that is shared with each generation as things stay the same, as things change. Traditional ecological knowledge changes through time, but not with the basic elements of respect, of observation, of regular interaction, innovation to change, and sharing that. Traditional knowledge keepers have the responsibility of both protecting and sharing that knowledge. I want to read you the first quote. One elder said, "Our own experience shapes our perception. Every time I walk in the forest, it's always changed. From weather to weather, season to season, depending on the time of the month or even how I feel. The attitude I bring with me in the forest will shape how I feel and what I'll observe and experience. My mind can't fathom all the information being brought in, thousands of things being filtered out so that I can ground myself." That could have been my quote if you've listened to a lot of these videos. You come in here and no matter how familiar you are, something is different. But you could say that about your backyard or your basement as well. But how aware are we of these changes, and what do they mean to us, and then how do we respond? This is what traditional knowledge is all about. It's not doing a survey, it's not doing experiments, it's not writing out, to have peer review and stuff like that. It's basically when the elders would sit down and say, okay, what do we need to talk about? And all of a sudden they're realizing, you had that experience too, you too, okay, very good. There's something here we have to keep note of. That's how things come into a consensus, and then the consensus brings that to the community of this is what we need to do. It's something we don't do very much anymore, if at all. I want to read another one here. And this, to me, is the crucial part. We need to think holistically. Everything is connected. We need to develop a movement to get back to traditional beliefs. Mother Earth will come back after our destructive path. We need to save ourselves from ourselves. When you think about that, there's a lot of talk today about the environment, the ecology, what have you, climate change, everything. As I speak, we're just getting over terrible, terrible high temperatures in British Columbia. One place was nearly 49 degrees Celsius. At 45 degrees Celsius, plants start to break down their proteins. If you had that, they had it for a long time, now they have fires, but if you had that for an extended period of time, simply the plants would die and not come back. That organism there would be dead, whether it be a blade of grass or a tree. We are not going to hurt Mother Earth. Mother Earth has survived worse things than humanity. We're going to hurt ourselves. Traditional people around the world understood this, understand this, and they know that if they're out of sync with what's going on, they're the ones that are first going to feel it. And if they're really out of sync, they're not going to have a future. We have to understand that. We have to listen to these people. They know because they live this way. And it's around the world, not just here in New Brunswick or in Canada, but around the world. I have one more here. Traditional ecological knowledge embodies the basic knowledge elements of respect, observation, regular interaction, innovation, and sharing. I said that, and I say it again. We have to understand those words. The Western science and traditional ecological knowledge seem, and I stress that word, seem to be at opposite ends of the knowledge spectrum, if you will. There is a place for cooperation if traditional ecological knowledge can have an equal voice in our institutions. I say that this morning, knowing that yesterday Canada received its first Indigenous Governor General representing the Queen. She's Inuit. She's got the tradition. She's got the fervor. I hope she does well. My prayers go with her. Acadian forest, which I'm standing in, and its species will need to adapt to the changing climate of the earth. That's not an option. To adapt to the climate change and its effects, the forest must be resilient in terms of biological diversity and overall health. If we keep using it as a commodity, not going to be here for our grandchildren. Traditional ecological knowledge teachings can provide the ancestral timeline and the ancestral wisdom needed for our society to coexist with the Acadian forest, its species, through the decades of change ahead. Canada, like the States, has a bad record with Indigenous peoples. Many call it genocide, certainly cultural genocide. But right now we're dealing with over 1,000 graves that are unmarked. Just west of me we have unmarked Acadian graves which we haven't found. That's not even respect we show each other. We need to change. And it'll only come when we change spiritually.